I got Alicia Turner of Turner Recruiting and Consulting, and we're going to be talking about the reality of recruiting in
Yes.
2023. So, Alicia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So we've got a mutual friend, your client and my friend, Aaron Veal.
Yeah.
He is actually, his name is not Ace, so everybody calls him Ace, but he's an AC, he's an associate certified entomologist, and it comes on his thing is like Ace Veal. Why does everybody call me Ace? I said because it says it right in your name.
See, I didn't even know that. He's such a nice guy.
He is. So, nice. So he told me, he says, well, after a year of trying to recruit a technician, I gave up, and I guess he found you.
Yeah.
And says you were able to help him. So I said, oh, I got to get her on the podcast, because for solo operators, I think whether, I don't care what business you're in, for any solo operator, it's like everything else. If you've never done it, you have no idea how hard it really is.
Yeah.
To hire and recruit people.
That's what Aaron had said to me. And so my heart goes out to, small business owners, because that's why I went into this business, to specifically help, you guys. But he was like, he'd gone through, I think, 8 guys since last October. And he was, like everyone else that comes to me, just like over the process, ticked off, hates everything about it. And that's, like I said, why I went into business, to help specifically small business owners, because I know that's frustrating. Yeah. And you guys are trying to run your business. You don't have time to necessarily sit there all day long and talk to people and screen resumes and get, people to no call, no show you. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, no. So how did you get involved in recruiting?
Okay, so I've actually been in recruiting since 2010, and just a little, back history about me. I started for the national recruiting team for a wireless provider, and my specific role at that point was we were nationwide. So we had like 26, 28 markets, and I was responsible for helping between 8 and 10 of those markets. I did that for over 5 years, and then I went on to recruit independently for other businesses. But this year rolled around, the beginning of this year, and what I wanted to do was do what I just said, help more business owners, but specifically small business owners, because I've seen the frustration on all sides of it when people go to traditional recruiting agencies, temp agencies, and like with Aaron, like the frustration, they just can't get anybody, or they can't get anyone to stay. So I wanted to take, my knowledge, my expertise, and put it towards helping specifically those small business owners, those guys who really need the help, who is trying to run their business, but doesn't necessarily have the time or the know-how to get staffing in there. So that's where I wanted to do something totally different. I wanted to create a business that was unlike anything else that's already out there, because for what you guys do, for example, there's nobody that's in place to help you when you need staffing, and you don't necessarily have time.
And I got clients of mine who are recruiters, but everybody's recruiting on that $100,000 a year.
Yeah. There's nobody that's helping who has the salary of starting someone at 40,000 and below, or 50,000 and below. There's no one that's geared to helping you guys. And that's why I was like, there is such a huge gap. And, especially since COVID, and this is, a large complaint that I've heard too from business owners. Since COVID, the small business owner took such a hit financially, and took such a catastrophic hit to their business already. So now trying to get staffing, they don't necessarily have the capacity or the financial means to get what they need to keep their business running. And I don't, my heart goes out to those guys, because it's like, they're just trying to provide, for their families, but they also, what do they do first? Do they run their business, or do they sit here and spend 40 hours trying to get someone just to, come to work every single day?
Yeah. I mean, even look, I'm probably in 100 groups of different service. And whenever I get interested in an area, so I'm in about 5 HR recruiting groups.
Yeah.
Just observing, because I don't have anything to add to that conversation. I'm just more there observing, looking at what's really happening in that landscape.
Yeah.
to understand what they're going through. And a lot of them are actually throwing up the towel and saying, I rather get into HR compliance and get out of recruiting, because like even them asking, like, I've been a professional recruiter, I'm getting ghosted by all these people applying and they're recruiters. I said, if the recruiters that do this for a living are throwing up their hands and they're fed up in this marketplace, what can the guy like me, expect?
I will 100% admit that I have 2 other assistants on my team, and they're amazing and they're phenomenal, and we all share the same passion for wanting to help people. But we will joke that our job is also 62% frustrating, even for us.
Yeah.
Because, you guys are seeing the no call, no shows 100%. So are we. Like I'm also getting no called, no showed. But for me, there's a difference in place. So I keep a spreadsheet of every single candidate that I ever talk to for every client. But what I'm doing to protect you is if that person gets past me and they no call, no show you, then they're done. Like they get blacklisted, because I wouldn't want to put that candidate in front of another client of mine. I want to protect you going forward. So it's very important to me, character and punctuality and, culture, because is this candidate going to be able to fit in with all of those things that are important to you? And if they can't fit into all of those things that are important to you, then that's not a candidate that I want to move forward with, because, what you do, what's important to you for your business is just as important to me. So we're getting no call, no show too. And, we'll have that perfect, what we call unicorn candidate that will, like the day of, not show up for their first day of work, and so, like I said, I absolutely love what we do, but it's also 62% frustrating too, because,
I mean,
some things just don't line up.
Like before COVID, I had developed processes for hiring. So we had an automated system. We had a client management system for recruiting that I set up. That worked great when there was an enormous pool of candidates. Prior to COVID. And so I had automated video interviewing. We had assessments. We used Criteria Corp, which is, I mean, people don't understand how expensive it is.
Yes, it is.
To really recruit and have all the tools. I spent on a management system, I might have spent $3,000 that year just to hire 2 to 3 people. But I figured because the cost for us to do it here, to hire a recruiter, nobody would do it for less than 15 to 20% of first year salary.
Here locally where I'm at, and what I do works for a lot of small business owners, but also there are a lot of larger agencies that will do temp agency. So I'm not temp at all, and I will never do temp. I'm a direct placement company. So every candidate that comes to me, what that means will be placed directly on your company and your payroll, never with mine. For some people, though, that temp agency does work for some companies who are just needing them like now, fast, real fast. I don't do that, because for me, that's a turn and burn style, and that's not what I'm in business to do. I want to, essentially, you hire me to hire someone else, and then you don't ever have to use me again, unless if your business is growing. That's kind of like the ideal situation for you. But you are absolutely correct. Most of those traditional style recruiters will charge you, here it's between 15 and 30% of the first annual income. So if you have a small business owner who's only providing their person whatever, 30,000, 40,000, that's a huge chunk of, money to pay out for that one candidate. And for me, that is sometimes that small business owner's only income for the entire month. So that to me is where I can provide a service, and a really good service, at a much more affordable cost that does help a lot of those small business owners who are really needing that help.
Because the biggest challenge that, when we're not even a small business. I mean, when we're talking about the average client of yours, probably is the solo operator who's starting with his first employee. And we'll talk about the whole issue of that culture and everything. The culture is him. I mean, how do you help, unless we have to get into the reality of this, that they've never hired. And I talk to people all the time. I says, how many droach jobs does it take for you to be good.
Yeah.
And some is 100 a year, 2 years. I says, how are you planning to hire and recruit somebody when you've never done it? And the pain of doing it 3 and 4 times is not only very expensive, but very painful, because the amount of pain these guys, after 3 times, they've given up. They like, I can't hire. Nobody wants to work. You know, there's no work ethic. There's no, you know, not, I mean, they're done.
That's my story. That's my life. That's why the people to me
and that is the reality. But I said, you got to understand, unless you've done this, like I've already hired and fired in this business at least 12 over the last 15 years. Yeah. So I have the burn experience of what it feels like every time I have to go through this process again. Oh yeah.
Because every time that you have to train someone, you have to take that time off your plate also to train another person. That, you know, time is money, and you're taking that time out to train. So every time that you do have to hire someone else, you do have to go through that training period. And that is hard, and that's difficult. Yeah.
Just the amount of hours it takes to even learn. Like, okay, I did ads on Indeed and nobody's applying. Like, these guys will I even boosted the ads and nobody's applying. Yeah. And you're like checking this thing, like, you know, it's a ticker symbol every 5 minutes to see if somebody applied. And then when they do, it's all the amount of hours that you don't have on top. I mean, I can do a video in the field, and I've done them before, and I'll do these videos in the field, and it will literally be my phone is ringing. I carry 2 phones in the field and a headset, and I'm like, I'm on one phone texting somebody and mapping and whatever, and on the other phone I'm handling calls. Yeah. And that's how crazy it is. Like right now I got a little bit more time because I got 2 techs again, but I was on the road again with 1 tech for an entire year because it couldn't be done.
And when you're a small business owner, or when you're just a business owner, you're literally the one doing it all. You are the one making sure that it's all getting done. And if it's not getting done, it's not going to fall back on that employee that didn't show up yesterday. It's going to fall back on you. Yeah. So you getting those people in there, that is important. So
what would you, and in other words, since you're in the recruiting business, like, and ideally, I mean, you want them to contact you to do this service, but the reality of, again, going back to the reality of what we face and the cost, when they never think about a recruiter, because I talked to a recruiter and it was $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. The average guy,
actually, let me get my calculator here. You're right.
You know, when I ran those numbers on 15 to 20%, it was like 6,000 to 8,000. And then it was like, well, you got to pay us, you know, $2-3 grand just to get started. Once we place them with you, then we get the other percentage. That's just for a guy to say. But when I added up also the fact that I did it myself, but I'm a sales guy. I'm not a technician technically. I can sell the position. I can sell the work. That's still, and I had it automated. That still took a couple of hours a day out of a couple hours, literally, out of my day to deal with. And at that point, prior to COVID, I would get 1,000 applicants. Yeah. It's like, how does anybody even manage 1,000 applicants when they don't have an applicant management system in place? This is the stuff they don't know about.
So that is all true. Everything that you just said. And going back to like a more, and I don't want to say traditional, because everything I do is still it's the same service. It's just a much more affordable service. Yeah. But if you get a traditional recruiter or temp agency, you're absolutely correct. So on a $40,000 salary, let's just start there. Let's just say the most inexpensive recruiter that you find is 15% of the first annual income. That's going to be $6,000 instantly paid. Or for basic math, let's say this, they will ask you to put them on their temp status. What that means for you is that they have to stay either on a 3-month period or like up to, let's just say 520 hours. And what they do then, basic math, you are going to pay your employee $10. They'll charge you $20 to keep them on that status. Now, if you come to them after a month and you say, hey, I really like this person. I know I want to keep them full time. Let's go ahead and transition to permanent status. What they'll do is they'll still go back to that yearly annual income. They'll deduct what you've already paid and you still are paying the same amount. So it's the same. I am literally a fraction of all of that because my joke to that is I'm not trying to pay off my mortgage in a month. I just want to help good people find good people.
Right.
But another point that you just made also is there are some positions that I will post that I get no direct applies on. So that means that nobody's applying directly to me. And so what I'm doing, and this is a large part of what I do too, that maybe a lot of people don't know about, I do what I consider blasting or cold recruiting. So I'm looking for that passive candidate. I'm looking for the person that hasn't applied directly to us. I'm looking for the candidates that maybe aren't necessarily looking for a job right now. And those are the people that I'm reaching out to try to talk to us. And then another thing that you just said too, where you may have like, tons of applicants coming through. The reverse side of that is you're absolutely right. Like I will sit on Sundays and screen 80 resumes. And just yesterday alone, I went through 150 emails responding back to every single person. So when I literally say that I'm the one doing it, I am the one doing it to make sure that you're getting like the best person for, what you need for your team. And then from there, they'll get distributed onto my assistants that will help me do phone interviews and things like that. And then the notes still come back to me and I'm deciding who do I want to send to you. So let's say we started with, 80 resumes or 150 emails to go through. You may only get one or two of those people. Like you may not know how many numbers that I just went through, but I may only send you two because I feel like those are the two that are the most closely matched for what you're looking for. And you may come back and say, I love both of them. Now it's hard to decide which one. And I love hearing that because that's my job. Or you may come back and say, neither one of them is a good match. And what I'll do is ask you, well, why not? What can I do for you so that I can better gauge who to send you going forward? And, another thing I offer that maybe is lost with some other agencies is that personableness of this. So every single client has my direct cell phone number. They can call me at 10 o'clock at night and they're going to get me. We are building a relationship, because a lot of them too become friends. I want to hear how it's going for them. I want to hear how their business is going. Right. And, is it growing? Is it doing everything that they need it to do too? So.
Yeah. In the issue of, because a lot of the time we're going to need like background checks.
Yep. I do that
in the service. Yeah. In the service industry. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, the turnaround.
Yeah.
Because the turnaround on new prospects, if you don't act quick and you say, well, it's going to take a week or two for some of these agents, because I've hired a lot of these background. Yeah. And we're going to need, make sure they're not on a pedophile list.
Yeah.
Make sure they're not on an FBI most wanted, because a lot of people do local, they'll do a local search and then they don't realize this guy's got a, federal warrant, out for him. These are things that have to be done quickly, because if the candidate is a good candidate and he's qualified,
this is what I always tell everyone. You're not the only one that they're probably interviewing with. No. In fact, I hope that you're not the only one that they're interviewing with, because if they are a good candidate, you want to know. Here's a question though, that even if, someone doesn't hire me, and I like to give people as just a tip. If you're talking to a candidate at the very end of that interview, it's okay to ask them, are you actively interviewing with other, companies? And if you are, that's great, because they always want to lie. No, you're the only one. No, I'm not. But what you can ask them, and this is what I, always ask my candidates. If you were, given 3 offers tomorrow, what is going to be the deciding factor for you to choose which company that you would like to work for? What is the most important to you? Is it just the money? Or, what else is important to you for you to make that decision to choose a company that they're going to work for? Because it's just as important for them too. This is going to be their livelihood. This is going to be where they're going to spend most of their hours away from their family. So it's important for them too to decide what is most important for them and their family. So that is a question that I tell people, make sure that you ask that. And at the end of the interview, always kind of give it back over to them and allow them to ask you questions. Give them the opportunity to interview you, whatever that may be, whether they bring up your reviews online or your culture or, your growth, what you see in the future for your growth of your company. Allow them to ask you those questions too.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because this is a tough one for us. When we're a solo operator, we don't have benefits. We don't have you come work for me, the chances of you
That's true.
being able to take any real time off. In other words, I want flex time. I mean, I do it because I understood how it is.
Yeah.
So my guys work 3 to 4 days a week. They make their own schedules and they work it around their own life.
Okay.
But at the end of the month, it still has to get done. So we give them a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
To create their own schedule. I need Monday off. You don't need to ask me. Just schedule it. But for a lot of us we don't have a company culture.
Yeah.
There's going to be no insurance, no benefits. It's basically going to be a salary or a commission or some type of compensation package. And it's really more focused on the compensation versus all of the things that people would want in a company, that traditionally you're not going to have with one guy in a truck.
Right.
How does both for you and the operator of that business, how does he really position himself, and how does that candidate because that makes it harder to find the ideal candidate, because the candidate also says, yeah, but I want, health insurance, and I want, if he's looking for just how does that work, and how much more difficult is that today?
So it is difficult, but it's not, impossible.
Right.
Because a lot of my clients are not offering, insurance or benefits right now. So, and that's totally okay. So what I say is, let's look at, and when, someone calls me, I ask a lot of questions, not only about the position, but about them and about their company. What's important for you? What do you see for your company in the next year? Where are you wanting to go from here? Because in that conversation, what you're telling me, you're wanting to grow, you're wanting to expand, you're wanting to do that. That right there, that is your culture. Right. And that's what's going to be important to a candidate, because you're going to have someone who, yes, they may be needing the insurance or the benefits, and maybe this position is not a good fit for them, and that's okay. But you may have someone that comes in there where I help them find alternatives to needing the insurance and benefits. A lot of people sometimes will turn to Marketplace for the insurance. Now, for the benefits and for the pay, I'll always tell my client, let's look at how we can make this competitive in itself. Because, okay, yes, you're not offering insurance or any of that, but let's offer what we can offer and make it an attractive offer to candidates. So we may then get the candidates in there who is going to have that same passion that's wanting to help this business grow. They want to be a part of something and be a part of seeing it grow. And those are the candidates that are ideal for these type of positions, because, you're sitting here saying that it's just me in a truck, there's no culture. But when I'm asking you, why did you start doing this? When did you get into business? Why is this important to you? Kind of like, so Aaron, for example, going back to him, I did a lot of research on him. I did a lot of research on his website. I did a lot of things, and you just learn what's important to him. He was just a really good guy, again, wanting to help other people and provide really good products for people. That right there was his culture. That right there was that selling point of getting good candidates in the door that also wanted to share that passion and help people. And that's what I go for. That's what I'm looking for. And I have those very honest conversations with my candidates on the front end. So for me, I want to have as much of an honest conversation with that candidate on the front end, answer all of those questions, get all of the good and the bad and the ugly out there first before they ever get to you, and, be surprised by something. So when they get to you at that point, I've already took them through all of my questions. Depending on the position, they probably have already completed an assessment for me. We've already checked the references on them. So by the time that they get in front of you, there should be zero surprises. They know going in that there's no insurance, that what the benefit package would look like if there is a benefit package, what the flexibility of the schedule will look like. They know everything going in there. So when they sit down in front of you, this is a job that that they want. And it's everything that you're excited about and important to you is going to be what I'm selling to that candidate. Right. Because it's, like I said, what's important to you is going to become just as important to me. This is your business. This is your company. And that's how we sell that. That's how we get those candidates in there.
From the, I deal with thousands of PCOs that are independent, and the unrealistic expectations that they have about what they really can afford to pay and what it's really going to take to bring people on board that are quality. Because I want a quality guy just like me, but you're wanting to pay $13 an hour.
Yeah.
When the expectation really is 40 something thousand a year. How is that? How are you dealing with that? And how realistic are most of the people that you're working with in understanding that?
Most are very realistic, but some are unrealistic. And I'm a very honest and transparent person. Right. So whether it's with my client or with my candidates, what I will do is, once someone calls me, and again, I ask all of the questions, what are you paying on the, I will tell them, either I can do like a market analysis for you, like a pay analysis, and kind of research your competitors to see where you're at competitively within that pay, structure. And then a lot of times too, I'll just call them back and say, hey, we can offer this. We can do anything you want. It's your business. But if you're wanting a higher caliber type of candidate, you're going to have to pay more, or offer something else that is competitive. Now, I've had people flat out tell me no, that they're not going to offer more. And I've had people that's only offering, $12 an hour. It's just, it's their business and they can do what they, want to do. And I will politely kind of give them my, advice and my expertise and what I feel that they should do. But then there's a lot of people too that will hear that and be like, you're right. And will increase their pay or increase, something else that we can, offer an attractive kind of offer to a candidate.
Right. As far as interviewing, because a lot of the time I see that guys put out ads in interviewing, and I said, you're asking for a lawsuit. The questions you're asking.
There's a lot of things you can't say.
Yeah. So how do you help the client as far as here's your interview questions? Because they got to keep things uniform. All of a sudden they're interviewing 10, 15 people and they're asking 15 different questions. And there's no uniformity to their an EEOC. You have the Medical Leave Act. You're having a bunch of
ADA.
Things. Yeah, ADA. You get into all that, and I'm like, I just had one guy post an ad says, "Bro, you need to change that. You're gonna get sued." As far as what do you do in that case to help them? Because
when someone uses my process, I do a lot of the front end, so I do a lot of the front end phone interview, the conversations, and I ask the questions. And I've told them, my clients, especially like if it's a physical job, all you're legally allowed to ask is, are you physically able to do the job in its entirety? Whatever that job is it standing, climbing ladders, crawling into tight spaces? Do you have a fear of whatever this job entails? Those are the things that you're legally allowed to ask. You're only going to get a yes or no. Right. You have to take that answer. So I've already asked a lot of those questions on the front end. Right. Do you have reliable transportation? You're not allowed to ask much more than that. Is, is it your mom? Like, is your mom taking you to work? Like, you can't ask that. Yeah. So I asked the legal questions and we already have that out of the way. Now, I will have clients come back to me that has said, well, when they get to me for that face-to-face interview, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know what to ask. Right. So what I'll do then is I'll send them a list of follow-up questions to ask that candidate in front of them. So they have I already know what they're going to be asking. They have legal questions in front of them that they can ask. Some of them will use that. Some of them will just kind of go off of their own and ask their own questions. But I'll make sure by the time that candidate has gotten in front of them, all the things that they need to know, the legal questions have already been asked for them.
Got it. Yeah, because I mean, those are tough ones. I mean, people have never interviewed before, and they're interviewing the candidate as if they were a client. And certain things you're like.
Well, and and I kind of joke with my clients too. I'll come back to them and say, now, okay, what you just said here, I understand why you asked that, but like, that's on the let's not say that again list. Like, I'm going to make a list for you. Like, let's not do that. Like, we don't want to be a walking lawsuit. I don't want you to get sued. So,
that's what I deal with a lot of people on. It's like, and you learn. I mean, I come from corporate. So for me, a lot of this stuff is normal.
Well, for you and me, it's normal, but like for someone else, it's just like, I mean, why can't I ask? I remember if your mom is bringing them.
I joke around because I used to be in a position where it was highly litigated. Yeah, and I would literally be deposed at least once a month. So if you've never stand in front of corporate counsel and you've never been deposed,
never been judged,
you have no idea. It's like, I tell them, I jokingly tell them it's like revisiting the proctologist over and over again.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah, and
I can't imagine why I, wanted to do something else.
Yeah, and I used to be in that position, and it was just so highly litigated. I was getting sued all the time. But I mean, I had corporate counsel defending me, but still, the whole process of you having to be in an industry, and most guys have never been in that, and that's why I am so. Hey guys, we need to do things right, because until you've had that experience, sure, you can win.
Yeah.
But what is that going to do in your finances? You still have to defend yourself.
Now, and here's what I say too, like it only takes one, especially let's like put that on a smaller scale for the small business owner or just a business owner that is not corporate based, that does not have anyone backing them up. You say one thing and it just takes that one thing, and you get a bad review. And it's only going to take that bad review because you're not able to defend yourself in that review. Like, 10 people will read that review, or they'll go and tell 20 people. You're not able to defend yourself to every single person that's seen that bad review. So it's just, and I do joke, but I used to have one particular person that would just constantly say things that you're not supposed to say. And so like after the interview, I'd sit there and like pull out my notepad and like, okay, we're going to add this to the list. These are the things that you're not supposed to say. In fact, let's just sit there and look pretty. Like you don't need to say anything. Just sit there and look pretty and don't do anything.
Right.
Let me handle it.
Yeah, no, I was told by an employee once that he was funny because he told me, Mr. Frank, you're highly inappropriate. I mean, and I am, so I have to watch what I say most of the time. It's like, what is going to come out of Frank's mouth?
Yeah.
But no, let's look at the future of employment, where we're at with COVID. I think this has been eye-opening for a lot of people and a lot of things that have happened where, employee attitudes are changing. They're in a position where it's a, pretty much a seller's market for them. We are. And they're in control right now of what it is. Whoops.
Yeah.
Did I hit something? Okay. And what do you see in the next maybe 2 to 5 years in this market right now? What you're seeing in the marketplace and especially for us, because again, everybody wants to work in a company where they have, the ideal, like, my father-in-law used to tell his daughter, you need to be in a place where your name's on the door and you have the benefits and you have the retirement. And I see a lot of younger people also saying, we just don't care for. That's why I have a lot of young people on my payroll, because they don't care for. They say, I just rather make the money and go on Robinhood and buy my own stock and my own retirement and my own investments, and I could care less about your 401k. They don't care about the insurance. Where do you see this in a lot of different areas, especially because our market is that 18 to 25 is where if we're growing, that we have to hire that 18 to 25, but we're also seeing these guys mature at a very late age. Where when I was 19, I had my own apartment.
I like how you say
I had
that.
A job.
Very PC. Mature to later age. Later. You like a little more seasoned.
Seasoned, yes.
That's how I say it. I like someone who's a little more seasoned in the in that area. There is a shift because COVID hit and it was like you literally saw no one working. And I mean, I don't know how everyone else did that. I know they were getting huge, the unemployment benefits. And I know that has stopped. So for those people, that has stopped. But then you still see people who are not, I don't want to say not motivated to go to work, because there are definitely a lot of great people out there who are motivated to go to work. But now what I'm seeing is there's such a shift in competitiveness within companies because of the pay structure, because they are so desperate to get people hired that they are increasing the pay. So that is increasing unrealistic standards for pay expectations. So I mean, okay, us going in there at 15, 16 years old and getting a job looks much different now than now the 16-year-old going in and getting a job. What that 16-year-old now can get, paid is a lot higher than what I got paid at 16 years old. I think that's making it more difficult for a lot of businesses who can't compete with the big corporate stores who are offering a much higher pay. So I think, going forward, that is what's causing that strain, because you do have larger corporations offering much higher pay or 16-year-olds and older who just doesn't have a lot of experience.
Right.
But then you have these other stores or these other companies who are offering a more realistic pay. And then you have people that's like, why would I want that when I can go over here? And and I will say this again, like, I'm very honest. So I will say this to the candidates, like, you're absolutely right. You can go over here and get paid more, but be very careful of that because it's an unrealistic pay. So you're going to get hired on, and after maybe they slow down, they may even let people go. And I've seen a lot of candidates that will call me back and say, you were right. I tried it over here, it didn't work out, or I tried it over here, it wasn't what I was wanting. They let me go, or I quit. And so now they're back to looking for a more realistic, job, career, pay. And they're understanding that while I call it like they're dangling the carrots, in front of you. They're dangling the carrots in front of you, the high starting pay or the sign-on bonuses. But you have to look at that company. And this is what I'll tell people too. Look at the company, really do your research on that company and see, what does the review say? What are they most known for? Are they, known for getting people in there during their peak seasons and then letting people go? And if that's the case, you just need to be aware of that, because when their peak season drops, you need to know what's in store for you. What does that look like for the people that they brought on during their high peak season?
Right. Yeah, because the other thing I look at in a lot of these companies that are making quick decisions on hires because they know that they will lose, their churn rate is through the roof because they're bottom trimming. So basically we keep our A players. If you're not an A player, you don't fit into the culture, you're like 30 days and you're done.
Constantly letting go of that bottom 10%, and they are okay to do that.
Yeah.
You've got these companies who can't afford to do that and don't care to do that.
Right.
So then you have those people who are getting let go that was hoping to, get brought onto a company that they could learn from and grow with. Right. And unfortunately, a lot of those companies, that's just not going to be the company for them because they can afford to let you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, and let me ask you the question about reviews. I see a trend, and obviously, like anything else, these trends will become with like Glassdoor and and the rating system for companies. How, for the independent guy like me, who's 1 to 2, 3, 4, I mean, we're 4 of us right now in the company. How relevant is that, or what you see in the very near future with ratings, where they're being rated by the employees, and they got a 3.5 rating and says, unless you change your culture, unless something, you're not going to be able to hire, because it's just like like customer reviews on Google. I mean, they're looking at 4.9 stars and they're saying, oh man, look at the reviews. That's why we called you. How relevant is that? Are you seeing that now?
Yes.
Especially with the younger?
I think I always tell my business owners, I always tell, independent small business owners, whoever, I always start off with, have you done any research on yourself? And if you haven't, you should, because you should absolutely be aware of what's being said about you and what's out there. Now, it's okay to have bad reviews, because every single company is going to have a bad review, and that's okay. But what I want to say to that is, if you do have a bad review, be the one to get in front of it. Be the one to acknowledge it first. And, that's the difference in companies. Like, you may know that you have bad reviews out there, but you do nothing to improve from that or grow from it or learn from it. Right. You also may have the disgruntled employee that left a bad review because of whatever. There's nothing that you can do about that either. But again, you have to remember that you've got multiple eyes seeing that review. You can't defend yourself to every single pair of eyes that are seeing that review. Right. What you can do instead, though, is how can you actively make that better going forward? How can you actively make your team, your company, or even if it's, a one-man show, a two-man show, a four-man show, how can you actively make that better for your team going forward? So this is what I'll say to my business owners. Number one, do the research on yourself. Get in front of it. Be aware of the reviews. Number two, I would recommend having just a one-on-one conversation with your staff. And a staff can be 1, 2 people to 20, 50, 499 people. Have a one-on-one and let them know that they are important. What they're doing is important to you, that it matters, that you appreciate it. And, ask them those hard questions. Is there anything that we can do that can make this a better work environment for you? Also, ask the question, aside from needing a paycheck, because we are all needing to pay our bills, everyone is coming to work because they need a paycheck, but let's take that off the table. Aside from needing a paycheck, why do you choose to come to work every single day? Why do you choose to come here to work every single day? And how can we make that better for you? And then number three, what I would recommend doing, if you are a company that has bad reviews, again, that's okay. What I want you to do is look at how can you improve that going forward. And what I would do is actually acknowledge that when you're having interviews and you're bringing candidates in there, I would say to them, hey, I don't know if you've done any research on us or not. I hope that you do, but maybe you will find that we've had a few bad, negative reviews. I just want to let you know, as the owner of the company, I am doing everything I can to get ahead of that and make that better and grow from that, so that they know that you are actively aware of it and that you are actively trying to grow from that.
Got it. Yeah, no, I think because I'm seeing the snapshots of some companies. Look what the employee who left us a bad review, but now they're starting to accumulate, and now they've got 5, 6, 10, 15 bad reviews, and they're not even watching it a lot of the time, and not realize that this is, now you need we entered into a whole new space of having to hire a reputation manager.
Yeah, well, and that's true, because you get companies out there that you have no control of it. These people are going to post what they're going to post, and you can sometimes sift through it and realize that it's just like bullcrap. But then some of it may be legit, regardless of whether it's legit or bullcrap. You need to address it as if it is all legitimate concerns and within your company, and you need to know how to make that better within your company. I mean, it's just like a restaurant. You wouldn't go to a restaurant that had 10 bad reviews because they're all saying the same thing. You would be a little concerned to go there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's what I'm seeing. And especially with that, because like I said, the industry traditionally, our industry, the first hires, especially for junior technicians, are all been, 50% of people that, if I do a survey, said, oh yeah, I started in this industry between the ages of 18 and 25.
Yeah.
And that's becoming increasingly more difficult for us, where we're now hiring mostly between that 25 and 35 range.
More seasoned
individuals. And even then their skills, their work skills and work ethic is a lot to be desired. It's very difficult for us to find somebody, if I can get somebody just to show up and follow the program. That's it. That's all I really care right now. My standards are so low that all I want is somebody that can.
I just need someone to show up.
Show up and just follow this recipe. If you follow this recipe, guys, you will be heroes. I'm telling you. If you just follow my program, you will be heroes with the clients. That's all I need, is somebody to do that.
Show up.
Just show up, and the ghosting, the whole issue of just. They don't even
feel like you want to put that in the job ad? That's literally all you want to put. I just want someone to show up. Period. You're hired.
You're hired if you show up. I remember I would set up on a Saturday. I would set up what is known as a ride along day. So I would set them up and say, hey guys, we're going to do, 3 guys, to show up, usually guys, most women don't apply. It's not a sexist thing. That's just the reality of our business. Most women do not care. I wish they would. But I would set up 3 ride-alongs and say, we're going to go and take a look at a couple properties, show you what you're going to actually be doing.
Yeah.
And I would get 1 out of 3 to actually show up that day. And they wouldn't even answer their text, call, nothing. And then the one guy that would show up, I would call him and say, all right, I'm, start Monday if you like this. He wouldn't. Monday is hey, I have to go out of town on an emergency.
I get a lot of emergencies. A lot. And
so getting people to show up, but even just the interview, 5, 10, it's just extremely frustrating for us.
Yeah.
It is. And so ideally, if we can find someone within our budget, which, sometimes even within our budget is tough.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these solo guys have not really priced themselves correctly. And it's one of the things I'm going to be getting into, is that they haven't priced it. They priced themselves on break-even analysis of what they needed to make just to break even at home. and they didn't realize that that's going to be quickly in a year or more.
Yeah.
You're done, and now you got to hire a guy, and you don't have enough, and then you're trying to,
and that goes back to you having time to run your business, but also you're the person doing everything. You got to market yourself. You got to advertise. You got to get out in the community. People got to know about you.
Don't get me started on SEO.
Well, right.
You've been following me for every guy's like, I got guys. I've been hearing you on this SEO trip. What's going on? I said, I must have fired like 4 SEO companies already. I just finished hiring another one this morning.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's just, we're like, I'm wearing 15 hats.
Right.
And even the ones I do hire that, delegate, no crap. I got to delegate. I'm delegating and they drop the ball and I got to keep firing these companies because they don't even, it's just.
That's funny.
It's par for the course, but everybody's been like, what the heck, Frank, did you hire an SEO company so you can just shut up? So now I'm going to be talking about when I need to hire an employee. Recruiting companies suck.
All right. So we need to hire an SEO company for you. We got to get that going for you.
And I've been doing most of it myself. So everything, like I said, I sit here.
Yeah. It's hard.
For 20, and I got to be on the road now. I mean, I remember from May of last year to just 2 months ago, I was on the road. On top of everything else that I had to do here, I was getting on the road to do all these jobs because I didn't have a tech. I couldn't find one. And I said, I'm just not going to really go crazy with this. I'm just going to, my other tech can handle more. We split up the work. I hired a couple of people to do a couple of other things. I believe in subcontracting and delegating and all that. And I'll find somebody and I'll piecemeal 15 people doing 15 things that I'm now managing. Instead of doing it myself, but I still have to be the manager. I have to be my CFO, my CMO, my CEO. I delegated, but I still have to have a meeting every week with all these people. And guys, why is this still not done after, 2 weeks of talking about it? So it doesn't really matter. I can delegate part of it, but I still have to oversee it, and it doesn't change.
I saw this meme one time, and it said, I didn't want to work a traditional 40 hours for someone else, so I opened my own business, and now I work 80 plus hours.
Yeah, exactly. And I cut back a lot. I mean, I used to work those 80, 100
So now you're from like 80 to 75?
I'm probably doing about 50 to 60.
Hey, it's good.
I cut back tremendously. I'm working about 50 to 60, mostly about right now. I would say I'm back to that 80-20 where I'm working 80% on the business and only about 20% in it. And everything I've done is pretty automated. We're going to hire an inbound salesperson. We're looking at that for this year. So it takes. But you learn from the mistakes of what I want to do and what I don't. And after a week of doing my own SEO again, I said, let me just hire one person to do one specific thing. And it's actually just my GMB. That's all I'm really having to manage because our other SEO works is just managing that GMB that it's not worth for $300 a month. It's not worth for me to spend 10 hours on it. Anything, I have this thing that anything that takes over an hour for me to manage it, I got to find somebody else.
I mean, our time is money, it takes time to do a lot of things.
Look, at 51 with this many gray hairs, or 52, with this many gray hairs, it's no longer about money. It's about life. Every hour that gets sucked out of me, it's an hour I lose of life. And I'm taking that very seriously these days because I got a good 30 years that I want to enjoy.
I just dye my grays. That's just what the women do, which is dye it.
Yeah, that's what my girlfriend does. Yeah. She dyes it, and I'm like, no, this is too much work. I just enjoy
too much work.
That
would take longer than an hour to maintain.
Yeah, like my dishwasher broke. I said, just do me a favor, call somebody to just fix it. Anything that takes more than an hour for me to do, and it costs more than $250. That's I've set that up. It costs $250 to do in less than an hour, I'll do it. But if it costs any more than it takes any longer, I'm just going to hire somebody because it's just not worth it for me. It's just this is too much. And then, I got to do interviews with Alicia and things like that. So,
or Alicia can do the interviews for you.
There you go.
I'll take all those hours off your plate for you.
There you go. Let me ask you this. So how does somebody get a hold of you if they need to contact you?
They can call me directly on my cell phone. They can email me. So you can always go to my website. That's Turner Recruit, actually turnerrecruits.com.
Mm-hmm.
I see I'm never actually on my website. I should be. turnerrecruits.com.
Right.
I'm busy going through the resumes.
There you go.
turnerrecruits.com, or you can email me at Alicia at turnerrecruits.com.
Right.
My cell phone is also on my Facebook page and on those websites. Do you want me to just give that, or?
Yeah, it's fine. You can go ahead and give it. Whatever you like.
People can call me directly, and like I said, this is my direct number. You can text me, call me, whatever. It's 865-640-4280. So, like I said, when you call or email me, you are literally getting me.
Good,
I'm the one
awesome.
responding to everybody.
No, awesome. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Hopefully it'll be out maybe next week. We can get it out. And I was hoping it'd be live on Facebook, but they gave us, meta. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. Usually,
I get those like meta emails, and I'm always like, okay, I don't have time to read it because I have 150 other emails. So delete. But then when I can't do something, I'm like, maybe that was important that I was supposed to read.
Yeah. Oops. No, I get so many. So I'm like, I go online and I can do it. And now they're just like, we just decided to restrict it for some other reasons. I got to figure out why and spend an hour doing it. So anyway.
Oh my gosh. But you can't spend longer than an hour though, because
I know.
Then you're going to have to hire somebody.
I got to hire somebody. And then I'm going to be calling you.
Okay.
Hopefully I will. I mean, I'm looking at, right now I'm in conversations with a couple of salespeople that I'm talking to about bringing them on.
Wow.
To do this.
And listen too, like I can help at any point in the process, but I do background checks, drug screens, I do motor vehicle reports, we check references, we do all of that in-house. So we can help. The consulting part of what we do, we can also just provide advice. If someone's just needing help with their interview, their questions, like maybe they're not sure, they're asking legal questions, we've helped with that before. So we're kind of here to just help provide a helping hand all the way around.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, we've helped clients all over from California to New York to Florida. So we can help anyone. We're on Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in California and you call me, it's like, I've done interviews at 10 o'clock at night before where it's only 7 o'clock their time. So
yeah, no, I got one that I'm going to be doing, and it's like, we're in California, and it's like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, so I always got to work it around because it's like if I tell them it's 10 o'clock, it's like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Somewhere around that time. It's like, no, that's crazy. So I got to do it like 12 or 2 in the afternoon.
Now I've done that where I've called people and I forget that they're in California. And so it's only like, it's 8 o'clock my time, but then it's like 5 a.m. there. And I'm like, sorry.
Yeah, no.
Call me later.
Yeah, no, I will always have to look because now I get like calls from everywhere. Calling people back and people port their number too, so you never know if they're in Florida, because before, remember, you used to have your own area code back in the day and you knew where it was from. Now you get this call as like Connecticut or California. Who's calling you from California at this time in the morning? So now we just moved to Florida and we needed pest control. So but cool. No, I appreciate the time being on. Hopefully this will work out for you, and give her a call, guys. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.